Chapter 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. If you need to turn to an ally for help, do not bother to remind him of your past assistance and good deeds. He will find a way to ignore you. Instead, uncover something in your request or in your alliance with him that will benefit him and emphasize it out of all proportion. He will respond enthusiastically when he sees something to be gained for himself. In the early 14th century, a young man named Castruccion rose from the rank of common soldier to become lord of the great city of Lucca, Italy. One of the most powerful families in the city, the Poggios had been instrumental in his climb, which succeeded through treachery and bloodshed. But after he came to power, they came to feel he had forgotten them. His ambitions outweighed any gratitude he felt. In 1325, while Cass was away from Lucca's main rival, Florence, the Pogo conspired with other noble families in the city to rid themselves of this troublesome and ambitious prince. Mounting an insurrection, the plotters attacked and murdered the governor, whom Cass had left behind to rule the city. Riots broke out, and Cass supporters and Polk supporters were poised to do battle. At the height of the tension, however, Stefano, the oldest member of the family, intervened and made both sides lay down their arms. A peaceful man, Stefano had not taken part in the conspiracy. He had told his family it would end in a useless bloodbath. Now he insisted he should intercede on the family's behalf and persuade Cass to listen to their complaints and satisfy their demands. Stefano was the oldest and wisest member of the clan, and his family agreed to put their trust in his diplomacy rather than in their weapons. When news of the rebellion reached Cass, he hurried back to Lucca. By the time he arrived, however, the fighting had ceased, though Stephen's agency, and he was surprised by the city's calm and peace. Stefano had imagined that Cass would be grateful to him for his part in quelling the rebellion, so he paid the prince a visit. He explained how he brought peace, then begged for Cass' mercy. He said that the rebels in his family were young and impetuous, hungry for power, yet inexperienced. He recalled his family's past generosity to Cass. For all these reasons, he said, the great prince should pardon the Pogo and listen to their complaints. This, he said, was the only just thing to do, since the family had willingly laid down their arms and had always supported him. Cass listened patiently. He seemed not the slightly bit angry or resentful. Instead, he told Stefano to rest assured that justice would prevail, and he asked him to bring his entire family to the palace to talk over their grievances and come to an agreement. As they took leave of one another, Cass said he thanked God for the chance he had been given to show his clemency and kindness. That evening, the entire family came to the palace. Castro immediately had them in prison, and a few days later, all were executed, including Stefano. Stefano is the embodiment of all those who believe that justice and nobility of their cause will prevail. Certainly appeals to justice and gratitude have occasionally succeeded in the past, but more often than not, they have dire consequences, especially in dealing with castes of the world. Stefano knew that Prince had risen to power through treachery and ruthlessness. This was a man, after all, who put a close and devoted friend to death. When Cass was told that it had been a terrible wrong to kill such an old friend, he replied that he had executed not an old friend, but a new enemy. A man like Cass knows only force and self-interest. When the rebellion began, to end it and place oneself at his mercy was the most dangerous possible move. Even though Stefano had made that fatal mistake, however, he still had options. He could have offered money to Cass, could have made promises for the future, could have pointed out that Pope could still contribute to Cass' power. Their influence with the most influential families of Rome, for example, the great marriage they could have brokered. Instead, Stefano brought up the past and debts and carried no obligation. Not only is a man not obligated to be grateful, gratitude is often a terrible burden that he gladly discards. And in this case, Cass rid himself of obligations to Pogue by eliminating the Pogues. In 433 BC, just before the Peloponnesian War, the island of Kori, later called Corfu, and the Greek city named Corinth stood on the brink of conflict. Both parties sent ambassadors to Athens to try to win over Athens to their side. The stakes was high, since whoever had Athens on his side was sure to win, and whoever won the war would certainly give the defeated side no mercy. Chorus spoke first. Its ambassador began by admitting that the island had never helped Athens before, and in fact had allied itself with Athens' enemies. There were no ties of friendship or gratitude between Kor and Athens. Yes, the ambassador admitted that he had come to Athens now out of fear and concern to Kor's safety. The only thing he could offer was alliance and mutual interest. Kor had a navy only surpassed in size and strength by Athens' own. An alliance between the two states would create a formidable force, one that could intimidate the rival of Sparta. That, unfortunately, was all Kor had to offer. The representative for Corinth then gave a brilliant, passionate speech in sharp contrast to the dry, colorless approach to Kor. He talked of everything Kor had done for Athens. He asked how it would look for Athens' other allies if the city put an agreement with a former enemy over one with a present friend, one that had served Athens' interests loyally. Perhaps those allies would break their agreement with Athens if they saw their loyalty was not valued. He referred to Hellenic law, the need to repay Corinth for all its good deeds. He finally went on to list the many services Corinth had performed for Athens and the importance of showing gratitude to one's friend. After the speech, Athenians debated the issue in an assembly on the second round. They voted overwhelmingly to the ally with Kor and dropped Corinth. History has remembered the Athenians nobly, but they were preeminent realists of classical Greece. With them, all the rhetoric, all the emotional appeals in the world could not match a good pragmatic argument, especially one that added to their power. With the Corinth, ambassador did not realize was that his references to Corinth's past generosity to Athens only irritated the Athenians, subtly asking them to feel guilty and put them under obligation. The Athenians could care less about past favors and feelings. At the same time, they knew that if their only allies thought them ungrateful for abandoning Corinth, these city-states would still be unlikely to break their ties to Athens, a prominent power in Greece. Athens ruled its empire by force and would simply compel any religious ally to return to the fold. When people chose between talk and about the past and talk about the future, a pragmatic person will always opt for the future and forget the past. As the core realized, it is always best to speak pragmatically to a pragmatic person. And in the end, most people are in fact pragmatic. They will rarely act against their own self-interest. It has always been a rule that the weak should be subject to the strong. And besides, we consider that we are worthy of our power. Up till the present moment, you too used to think that we were. But now, after calculating your own interests, you are beginning to talk in terms of right and wrong. Considerations of their kind have never yet turned people aside from opportunities and aggrandizement offered by superior strength. In the quest for power, you will constantly find yourself in the position of asking for help from those more powerful than you. There is an art to asking for help, an art that depends on your ability to understand the person you are dealing with and to not confuse your needs with theirs. Most people will never succeed at this because they are completely trapped in their own wants and desires. They start from assumptions that people they are appealing to have selfless interest in helping them. They talk as if their needs matter to those people who probably could care less. Sometimes they refer to a larger issue, a or a great emotion such as love and gratitude. They go for the big picture when simply everyday realities would have much more appeal. What they do not realize is that even the most powerful person is locked inside needs of his own, and that if you make no appeal to their self-interest, he merely sees you as desperate or at best a waste of time. In the 16th century, Portuguese missionaries tried for years to convert the people of Japan to Catholicism, while at the same time Portugal had a monopoly on trade between Japan and Europe. Although missionaries did have some success, they never got far among ruling elite. By the beginning of the 17th century, in fact, their proselytizing had completely antagonized the Japanese Emperor Ieyasu. When the Dutch began to arrive in Japan in great number, Ieyasu was relieved. He needed Europeans for their know-how in guns and navigation. And here at last were Europeans who cared nothing for spreading religion. The Dutch wanted only to trade. Ieyasu swiftly moved to evict Portuguese. From then on, he would only deal with practical-minded Dutch. Japan and Holland was vastly different cultures, but each shared a timeless and universal concern, self-interest. Every person you deal with is like another culture, an alien land with a past that has nothing to do with yours. Yet you can bypass the differences between you and him by appealing to his self-interest. Do not be subtle. You have valuable knowledge to share. You will fill his coffers with gold. You will make him live longer and happier. This is a language that all of us speak and understand. A key step in process is to understand that other people's psychology. Is he psychology? Is he vain? Is he concerned about his reputation or his social standing? Does he have enemies you could help him vanquish? Is he simply motivated by money and power? When Moguls invade China in the 12th century, they threatened to liberate a culture that had thrived for over 2,000 years. Their leader, Khan, saw nothing in China but a country that lacked pasturing for his horses. And he decided to destroy the place, leveling all cities. It would be better to exterminate the Chinese and let the grass grow. It was not a soldier, a general, or a king who saved the Chinese from devastation, but a man named Yuli Schutz. A foreigner himself, Schutz had come to appreciate the superiority of the Chinese culture. He managed to make himself a trusted advisor to Khan and persuaded him that he could rip riches out of the place if, instead of destroying it, he simply taxed everyone who lived there. Khan saw the wisdom in this and did as Su advised. When Khan took the city of Kaifeng after a long siege and decided to massacre its inhabitants, as he had in other cities, and that had resisted him, Su told him that the finest craftsmen and engineers in China had fled to Feng and would be better to put them to use. Feng was spared. Never before had Khan shown such mercy. But then it really wasn't mercy that saved Khan. And Su knew the Khan well. He was a barbaric peasant who cared nothing for culture or indeed for anything other than warfare and practical results. Su chose to appeal to only emotion that would work on a man such a man, greed. Self-interest is the lever that will move people. Once you make them see how you can in some way meet their needs or advance their cause, their resistance to your request for help will magically fall away. At each step on the way, acquiring power, you must train yourself to think your way inside the other person's mind, to see their needs and interests, to get rid of the screen of your own feelings that obscure the truth. Master this art. There will be no limits to what you can accomplish. A cord that binds. The cord of mercy and gratitude is a thread bare and will break at the first shock. Do not throw such a lifeline. The cord of mutual self-interest is woven of many fibers and cannot easily be severed. It will serve you well for years. The shortest and the best way to make your fortune is to let people see clearly that it is in their interest to promote yours. Some people will see and appeal to their self-interest as ugly and noble. They actually prefer to be able to exercise charity, mercy, and justice, which are their ways of feeling superior to you. When you beg them for help, you emphasize their power and position. They are strong enough to help you. They are strong enough to need nothing from you except the chance to feel superior. This is the wine that intoxicates them. They are dying to fund your project, to introduce you to powerful people, provided, of course, that all that is done is public, then can be accomplished through cynical self-interest. Some people will be put off by it because they do not they don't want to seem to be motivated by such things. They need opportunities to display their good heart. Do not be shy. Give them that opportunity. It is not as if you are conning them by asking for help. It is really their pleasure to give and to be seen given. You must distinguish the difference among powerful people and figure out what makes them tick. When they ooze greed, do not appeal to their charity. When they want to look charitable and noble, do not appeal to their greed.